Welcome, friends. In this video, I will talk about the history of Russian tanks. Let's watch it together. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, and comment. Enjoy watching. At the beginning of the 20th century, while the Russian army had not yet encountered armored warfare doctrine, the world was on the brink of a major transformation. A few years later, Soviet engineering took its first steps with the T-14 and BT series. It expanded mechanized units with the T-26 and ultimately changed the course of World War II with the T-34. In the post-war period, Soviet tanks became decisive not only on the front lines, but also in the global balance of power with the T-55, T-62, and T-72. At the height of the Cold War, the T-80 appeared on the scene, followed by the Russian Federation turning to modern platforms such as the T-90 and Armata. This video examines how Russian tanks were born, how they evolved, and why they still play an important role in world military history. T-18, 1928. The beginning of the Soviet tank era. The T-18, as the first tank to enter mass production in the Soviet Union, was a critical vehicle that laid the foundations of the country's armored warfare doctrine. Although its design showed influences from the French Renault FT-17, it gained a unique character with a running gear, suspension structure, and engine system adapted to Soviet industrial capacity. The production process of the T-18 enabled the Soviet state to build the necessary technical personnel, maintenance infrastructure, and training doctrines for mechanized units. Its tactical value was limited, and it did not play a decisive role in major wars. However, it represented the starting point for the path leading to iconic platforms that the Red Army would develop in the following years, such as the BT series, T-26, and eventually the T-34. For this reason, many military historians describe the T-18 as the first milestone of the Soviet armored era, T-26, 1931. The Soviets' first mass-produced mechanized tank, the T-26, was the most common Soviet light tank of the 1930s, and served as the platform that transformed the Red Army's mechanized forces into a large-scale structure. An adapted version of the British Vickers 6-ton, the T-26 was made more durable with Soviet production techniques and was deployed in numerous variants. Its 45mm gun was effective against the lightly armored vehicles of the time and provided superiority over Panzer I tanks, especially during the Spanish Civil War. However, its armor was weak against air attacks and anti-tank fire, leading to heavy losses against Finnish defenses in the Winter War. By the time Operation Barbarossa began in 1941, the T-26 was no longer technically modern, but it continued to fulfill roles in logistics, reconnaissance, and support. Due to its production numbers, operational prevalence, and role in institutionalizing Soviet mechanization doctrine, the T-26 is considered one of the most important early milestones in Soviet armored history. T-34, 1940. The turning point. Tank of World War II. The T-34 is considered one of the most effective and balanced medium battle tanks of World War II. Thanks to its unique balance between sloped armor design, mobility, firepower, and manufacturing efficiency, it revolutionized Soviet armored doctrine. Its 76mm gun and V2 diesel engine provided a significant advantage against the German Panzer III and Panzer IV models of the time. Its speed and cross-country capability on the vast steppes of the Eastern Front allowed the implementation of deep strike doctrine. The fact that German forces had to develop entirely new designs such as the Panther and Tiger to counter the T-34 demonstrates the tank's strategic impact. Additionally, thanks to simplified production processes, thousands of T-34s were promptly put into service, playing a decisive role in the Red Army's counteroffensives. Both in military history and on an industrial scale, the T-34 continues to be remembered as an iconic platform that changed the course of the war. KV-1. The KV-1 emerged as one of the heaviest and most durable tanks of the Soviet armored forces in the early stages of World War II. During the 1941 Barbarossa campaign, German forces initially struggled to find effective ammunition against the thick armor of the KV-1. In many cases, 37mm and 50mm anti-tank guns failed to penetrate its armor. This situation led German commanders to change their tactics and turn to more powerful weapons. The KV-1's V2 diesel engine provided adequate mobility despite its heavy armor, but its weight posed significant logistical and maintenance challenges. In terms of firepower, its 76mm gun was effective against the medium tanks of the time, but rapidly evolving combat conditions highlighted the need for larger calibers. The KV-1's greatest contribution was proving that the Soviet heavy tank concept worked in paving the way for the later IS series. KV-2. The KV-2 was an extraordinary heavy tank designed for a specific purpose, featuring a large volume turret and a 152mm short-barreled howitzer mounted on a KV chassis. Its primary mission was to destroy fortifications, concrete bunkers, and urban strongpoints at close range. For this purpose, it could use powerful explosive ammunition, which was optimized against bunkers and hard targets rather than other tanks. However, its massive turret made the KV-2 quite tall, and the slow turret rotation posed serious tactical and survival disadvantages. During Barbarossa in 1941, the KV-2 managed to halt German advances for hours in some locations, but due to mechanical failures, ammunition supply, and mobility issues, it proved ineffective in long-term operations. Still, the KV-2 represented an engineering experiment within Soviet heavy tank doctrine and paved the way for later developed artillery support and heavy assault vehicles. IS-2, 1944. The heavy breakthrough tank that went to Berlin. The IS-2 was a platform representing the matured Soviet heavy tank doctrine and played a decisive role in the final stages of the war. Its 122mm D-25T gun offered effective penetration against contemporary German heavy armor, while also providing powerful destructive capability in urban combat through the use of high-explosive shells against concrete and fortified targets. The 1944 version of the model featured a new muzzle brake, a more efficient turret design, and improved armor layout. In encounters with German tanks such as the Tiger and Panther, the IS-2's ammunition was slow to load but delivered overwhelming firepower. During the Berlin offensive, the IS-2 served as a key heavy support unit for Soviet forces advancing street by street. Its use continued in the post-war period and directly laid the groundwork for subsequent Soviet heavy tank platforms, particularly the IS-3 and the later T-10 family. IS-3, 1945. The tank that shaped the silhouette of the Cold War, the IS-3 is considered one of the most striking examples of Soviet heavy tank development at the end of the war. Its triangular nose design, known as the pike nose, increased the deflection angle of the armor, providing significant resistance against the anti-tank ammunition of the time. The 122mm D-25T gun was effective against both enemy tanks and fortified targets. The IS-3 entered service in the final months of World War II, but did not play a large-scale role in the conflict. Nevertheless, when it was first shown to the public at the 1945 Moscow Victory Parade, it caused serious concern among Western military observers. Its low-profile, sloped armor structure and powerful firepower had a major impact on subsequent Cold War tank designs. The IS-3 directly led to the development of the IS-10 and later the T-10 heavy tank family, shaping Soviet heavy tank doctrine. IS-4, 1946 to 1947. The first heavy tank transition of the Cold War, the IS-4, was a platform representing the branch of Soviet heavy tank design after World War II that focused on durability and armor thickness. Developed based on experiences gained from the IS-2 and IS-3, the tank was optimized for heavy assault and defensive roles, featuring a 122mm D-25T gun while also having thicker hull and turret armor. However, these advantages came at a significant cost. The tank's weight exceeded 60 tons, leading to mobility and logistical compatibility issues. This particularly created challenges for Soviet railways, bridge capacities, and field maintenance lines. The IS-4 did not see extensive frontline action and was produced in limited numbers. Its primary mission was to be deployed in a series of Soviet regions designated for strategic reserve roles. Nevertheless, the IS-4 demonstrated the limits of the overly armored concept in heavy tank doctrine, paving the way for the development of more balanced heavy tanks like the T-10. Mars T-54. The T-54 is the first mature platform representing the Soviets' shift to the concept of the main battle tank as the center of force. Emerging after World War II, this tank moved away from the doctrine based on heavy armor and caliber, like the IS series, and became a symbol of a new model focused on speed, manufacturability, and logistical compatibility. Its low-profile turret, 100mm D-10T gun, and sloped hull provided a more compact and effective silhouette compared to Western tanks of the time. The simplicity of its production process enabled the Soviets' large-scale mechanization program, and the T-54 played a significant role in the global tank balance by being exported to dozens of countries throughout the Cold War. The T-54 also established a strong foundation for modernization. Engineering-wise, it laid the technical and doctrinal groundwork for the T-55 as well as for the later developed T-62, T-72, and T-90 series. T-55. The T-55 went down in history as one of the most widespread and effective tank platforms of the Cold War. Although it was based on the T-54 chassis, the T-55 was the first mass-produced Soviet tank adapted to nuclear warfare conditions. With NBC protection, improvements in ammunition storage, and modernization potential, it was considered a serious threat in NATO doctrine. The 100mm gun, more compact protection for the crew, and the improved engine system made a significant difference to the tank's reliability and mobility. The real strength of the T-55 lay in its uncomplicated design and its openness to long-term field upgrades. As a result, dozens of countries actively used the platform well into the 21st century. During the Cold War, it served across a wide geography from Central Europe to the Middle East and African fronts and became the most successful example of the Soviet tank industry's mass production plus global spread strategy. T-62. The T-62 represented a critical leap in firepower within Soviet tank engineering. As the first platform in the world to put a 115mm smoothbore gun into serial production, it provided greater penetration power against NATO tank armor of its time. Evolved from the T-54/T-55 chassis, the design was modernized with a low-profile turret, a more balanced hull, and new types of ammunition. However, the T-62 was also a transitional tank. Without an autoloader, it relied on the loader's speed, and its turret had a rather cramped interior. Nevertheless, it served as a significant firepower platform in Soviet doctrine, participating in many conflicts from Afghanistan to the Middle East. The T-62 also acted as a technical stepping stone in the development of more advanced tanks, such as the T-64 and T-72, helping Soviet tanks fully adopt the MBT concept in the next generation. T-64, you mean in 1967. The T-64 was a revolutionary breakthrough in Soviet tank engineering. Compared to earlier series like the T-54/55 and T-62, the T-64 adopted an entirely new approach. A more compact hull, an autoloader, composite armor, and a high-pressure gun all came together on this platform for the first time. The 115mm gun and low-profile turret reduced the tank's visibility on the battlefield while significantly increasing its firepower. The T-64 was truly the Soviets' first high-tech main battle tank. Due to its high production cost, it was mostly used by elite units and not widely exported. Therefore, while the T-64 was not as globally common as the T-55 or T-72, it became one of the critical platforms that shaped the future of tank design. Later systems such as the T-64A, T-64B, and eventually the T-80 directly drew from its legacy. T-64 in 1973. The T-64A represents the most significant modernization stage of the original T-64. This time, a 125mm smoothbore gun was integrated into the platform, and thanks to the automatic loader, the crew was reduced to 3. This innovation not only reduced the tank's silhouette, but also simplified the turret's internal layout, providing a more balanced armor arrangement. The composite armor offered effective protection against NATO munitions of the era, and the T-64A became the main striking force of the Soviet heavy armored units. From this period onward, the T-64A stood out not just for its firepower, but also with its sensors, optics, and fire control system. However, due to cost and maintenance complexity, it was not widely exported. The T-64A played a significant role in the Cold War tank competition as a platform designed for elite frontline armored units in Soviet doctrine. T-64B, 1976 to 1980. The T-64B was one of the most mature and capable variants of the T-64 family. The most notable feature of this version was its integrated advanced fire control systems and anti-tank guided missile ATGM launching capability. Thanks to the Cobra 9M112 system, the tank could hit armored targets at long range. This feature was not common among NATO tanks at the time. The 125mm gun, composite armor, autoloader, and modern optics made the T-64B one of the most sophisticated Soviet MBTs of its era. The tank was reserved by the Soviets for elite frontline units and was not widely exported. This contributed to its perception more as a doctrinal engineering platform. The T-64B left a significant mark on the development of the T-72 and T-80, as a concrete example of how advanced technology could be adapted in Soviet tank engineering. T-72, 1973. The T-72 was a next-generation main battle tank that stood out in Soviet tank doctrine for both production efficiency and battlefield durability. When it became clear that the complex and expensive technology of the T-64 was difficult to implement on a larger scale, the Soviets sought a design that was cheaper, more reliable, and easier to maintain. The ET-72 was the answer to this need. The combination of a 125mm smoothbore gun, an automatic loader, a low silhouette, and a powerful diesel engine made it a serious threat to NATO. Its low production costs and high modernization potential allowed the T-72 to be exported to numerous Allied countries throughout the Cold War. This made it one of the most widely used tank platforms in the world. The T-72 also became the foundation for derivative platforms such as the T-72A, T-72B, and later the T-90, establishing itself as the sustainable backbone of Soviet tank engineering. T-72, OSA 1979. The T-72 was a matured version of the original T-72 design, better adapted for combat conditions. Improved composite armor, new optics, and a better fire control system made the tank more competitive against modern NATO platforms. Armor enhancements on the turret particularly increased protection against kinetic and HEAT ammunition. The T-72A saw widespread use in the Soviet Army and Warsaw Pact countries, and became one of the decisive elements in the balance of armored forces in Europe during the Cold War. Production numbers were kept high, and this version was standardized not only for Soviet domestic use, but also for export. During this period, the T-72A was listed as a high-threat tank in NATO intelligence reports. The platform's success paved the way for the development of more advanced models, such as the T-72B and modernized derivatives. T-72B, 1985. The T-72B was one of the most significant modernization leaps of the T-72 family. In this model, the composite armor structure was significantly reinforced, the fire control system was improved, and the integration of Contact 1 ERA blocks made the tank particularly more resistant to heat munitions. The 125mm gun gained the capability to fire anti-tank guided missiles, ATGMs, enhancing its range and flexibility. The development of the T-72B was shaped to meet the real combat requirements of Soviet armored units, influenced also by experiences in Afghanistan. This version remained in service for a long time, not only in the Soviet Army, but also in the post-Soviet period, and was used in numerous conflicts. Additionally, the T-72B is considered the direct platform basis for the T-90. Therefore, it is regarded as a critical link in the evolution of Soviet tanks both technically and doctrinally. T-80, 1976. The T-80 went down in history as the first mass-produced main battle tank in Soviet tank engineering to use a gas turbine engine. This engine choice offered advantages such as faster startup in cold regions, high acceleration, and low vibration. The T-80 was also focused on improving field performance while retaining the compact design and autoloader system of the T-64. Its 125mm smoothbore gun, low silhouette, and integrated armor structure made the tank a significant threat to NATO in the late 1970s and early 1980s. However, high fuel consumption and complex maintenance requirements led to some doctrinal debates. Thus, the T-80 served as a technological leap platform in Soviet tank evolution and laid the foundation for more advanced models such as the T-80B, T-80BV, and T-80U. T-80B 1978. The T-80B was a matured version of the original T-80 platform in terms of firepower and protection. The main innovation was the integration of more advanced fire control systems and new optical components, which significantly improved target acquisition and hit probability while on the move. Improvements in armor construction provided more balanced protection against both kinetic and chemical munitions. The T-80B was designed for the Soviet elite tank role during the Cold War and was not widely exported. As a result, it remained relatively unknown in NATO reports for a long time, but was regarded as an advanced platform in professional military circles. Unlike the more cost-effective production approach of the T-72 family, the T-80B represented a high-cost, technology-intensive design line, which later evolved into the T-80BV with ERA integration. T-80BV 1985. The T-80BV was developed to be more resistant to HEAT ammunition encountered by Soviet tanks in urban and mountainous areas. By integrating contact one-type reactive armor blocks onto the hull and turret, the tank gained significant resistance against anti-tank rockets and guided missiles. Additionally, its fire control system was strengthened, and its night combat capability was enhanced. The introduction of the T-80BV into service was directly linked to combat experiences in Afghanistan and NATO's evolving ATGM capabilities. This model became the frontline tank of the Soviet heavy armored units in the late Cold War period. The modernization level of the T-80BV clearly indicated the protection concept Soviet tanks would adopt in the future, and this approach was fully matured in the T-80U. T-80U 1987. The T-80U is considered the most advanced Cold War model of the T-80 family. The Contact 5 reactive armor system provided more effective protection against both HEAT and kinetic ammunition, compared to the earlier Contact 1. The advanced fire control system, laser rangefinder, thermal optics, and ATGM launching capability made the tank a more dangerous platform at long range. While the 100 to 25 mm gun and autoloader system were retained, the turret design was completely modernized. The T-80U was classified as an elite unit tank under Soviet armored doctrine and was categorized by NATO in the late 1980s as a high threat level tank. This model is considered the pinnacle of the T-80 family and serves as an important bridge, transferring knowledge to the engineering lineage of modern Russian tank families, particularly the T-90 series. T-90 1992. The T-90 represented the starting point of a new era as the first Russian main battle tank developed immediately after the collapse of the Soviet Union. In terms of design, it was based on the T-72B chassis, while adopting a hybrid modernization approach with features taken from the T-80U, such as the fire control system, thermal optics, and Contact 5 reactive armor. The 125 mm gun and autoloader, combined with a low profile and powerful engine, placed the tank in the high threat category in NATO analyses of the 1990s. The T-90 was an economically sustainable platform for Russia. It could enter mass production without the cost issues associated with the T-80's turbine engine. The T-90 also achieved global influence through its export success, with several countries, including India, adopting the platform. Thus, the T-90 was considered both a transitional point in post-Cold War Russian armored doctrine and a symbol of the strategy for adapting to the new economy. T-90 2004. The T-90A was the mature version of the T-90 platform adapted for modern combat conditions. Features such as the newly welded turret design, Contact 5 ERA protection, thermal imaging systems, and the Shtora 1 IR countermeasure suite aimed to reduce the chances of the tank being detected and hit. While the 125 mm gun was retained, the fire control system was upgraded to achieve higher accuracy against moving targets. The T-90A became the main battle tank of Russian armored forces in the 2000s and was frequently seen in exercises, exhibitions, and Middle Eastern operations. The platform is considered one of the successful examples of the Russian Army's modernization strategy, based on a balance of high technology plus sustainable cost. The in-service performance of the T-90A paved the way for the subsequent T-90M program, initiating the digitalization process of Russian main battle tanks. T-90M ProRiv 3, 2017-2. The T-90M ProRiv 3 is the most advanced version of the T-90 family, adapted for modern battlefields. Its reliked ERA armor system, modular front hull protection, advanced turret design, and new thermal optics make the tank suitable for 21st century threat environments. The 125mm 2A46M5 gun and modern fire control system provide high effectiveness for both kinetic and ATGM munitions, while the digital command and control infrastructure enables the tank's integration into network-centric warfare at the unit level. The T-90M demonstrates a more balanced profile compared to conventional tanks in urban combat and mixed-threat environments. For the Russian military, this model serves as a strategic platform that will act as a highly mature current solution until the T-14 Armata program is completed and beyond. The T-90M functions as an intermediate bridge, combining the low-cost production philosophy inherited from the T-72 with modern technology. T-14 Armata, 2015 and onward. The T-14 Armata is considered a sign of a completely new architectural approach in Russian tank engineering. The tank's most revolutionary feature is its unmanned turret design. The crew is located in an armored capsule within the hull, which significantly increases their chances of survival after a hit. Its new generation 125mm 2A82 gun and ATGM capability make the tank effective against both other tanks and hard targets. The Afghani Active Protection System, modern ERA armor, and digital sensor package enable the tank to provide layered protection against both kinetic and guided threats. The T-14 is seen as a paradigm shift in classic Soviet-Russian tank doctrine. Instead of low profile plus high compactness, electronic sensitivity plus network-centric warfare concept comes to the forefront. However, due to high cost and production pace, the T-90M continues to bear the main load in the short to medium term.